Society Matters.
Welcome, everybody, to our next installment of Legacy Chronicles, Honoring the Past and Shaping the Future. I'm your host, Donna Rosenblum. I'm the Director of Education here at the Holocaust Memorial and Tolerance Center. And I have on our program today a wonderful guest, Dr. Linda Burghardt, who is a friend and a colleague. Linda is our scholar in residence here at HMTC, and she does so many things, wears so many hats. But today, we're here to talk about being a second-generation survivor. So let's start, Linda, by just giving a brief background of your family, where they came from, how they got to the United States, a little overview.
Okay. The miracle of getting to the United States.
Yes.
Yes. So my parents are both from Vienna. They were in their 20s around the time of Kristallnacht. They met and were married a few months later. And it's lucky for my father because my mother had papers to come to the U.S., and the cousin who gave her the paper said, "Oh, sure, I'll add your husband. He looks cute. First, send me a picture. But he looks cute. We'll take him." And so they were able to flee. And I can make a joke of it, but of course, it was life and death.
Yeah, sure.
And in their family, in my mother's family, there were 4 children. And the oldest came over first. The second was also a man. And the Nazis were picking up the men from the street at this point, so the men went first, and then came the women. And my mother was the youngest. She got out with her brand new husband, never saw her parents again. That is the major tragedy, that the whole narrative arc of my parents' lives and my childhood.
And what about your father's?
My father's parents. Complicated story. His father died after World War I from mustard gas poisoning. And he had an older brother who was able to go illegally to Palestine at the time, and eventually got their mother over there also. But it broke up the family. There was a lot of anger, there was a sense of abandonment, and my father and his mother didn't speak for 50 years. And actually never spoke again, but we got a telegram at one point that she had died.
Right.
Yeah, 3 words, "Mother died yesterday." Wow. It's the only time I ever saw my father cry. Yeah. So it's...
but then there must have been extended family, aunts, uncles, cousins, relatives on both sides who perished, who didn't, you know.
My father, none of his family survived. There was the the brother and the mother in Israel, but no contact. And on my mother's side, excuse me, an uncle and 2 aunts survived and their families.
Right.
When my parents came over, my mother went to all the temples in the neighborhood and asked the rabbi to ask the congregation on Friday night or Saturday morning, "Is there anyone here who will sponsor a family?" And a total stranger raised his hand. And he brought over my mother's oldest sister, her husband, and their 2 children who were 7 and 12.
And what year was that they
1939.
came up? Right, before the war.
Right. My parents came in 1938. My father was arrested on Kristallnacht, but my mother went to the Gestapo and said, "Papers, papers." And so they let him out.
And I'm sure a little money might have been exchanged.
I'm sure. I never heard that part of the story.
Yeah, but usually that kind of went with the
money or something else.
Money or something
we don't
else.
Know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Some type of bribe. Yeah.
Right. But usually. Forever, whenever my father said no to my mother, she said, "Friedel, I saved your life. I want that mink coat." And she got it because she did save his life. And he was grateful and devoted to her for his entire life. Yeah.
Now, in your family, you have siblings, or
I have an older sister.
An older sister.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's not very involved really with any kind of history. She once said that she didn't think the Holocaust really mattered, and I thought, this is the end of a conversation. Right. But she's softened a little bit as the years have gone by.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you for giving us that background. So being raised in a house with, your parents going through this experience, yes, or obviously they weren't in a camp or anything like that, but they did flee
Right.
With their
great
lives,
danger.
and they were
Yeah.
traumatized and affected, and obviously the the whole family, the extended family, everything
Yes.
affected their lives, and
Yes.
they when did you know that things were a little different in your household? Did you have any inkling at a certain age? Did your parents talk about their lives before? Like, when did you ever get a sense that there was something a little different going on
Well,
there?
it's a funny question because I grew up in Washington Heights in Upper Manhattan, and we weren't different because everybody there,
Okay.
or at least everybody I knew, had a Holocaust background.
Okay.
And so we were just plain old people, and all the weird stuff that my parents did to keep us safe and to, always worry about the wolf being at the door. All of those things, they were normal. It's what everybody did.
Right, from
you
where
went
you
to
were.
somebody's house, for after school. It wasn't called a play date at the time, but essentially for that. And their parents did the same thing.
Right.
And so,
So your parents had there was a network of other
Yes.
survivors,
Yes.
a survivor community.
Yes.
Okay, and again,
Yes.
when I do these podcasts with different people have different situations. I did a podcast
Right.
yesterday, and the woman who was doing the podcast said that her parents never spoke. Both her parents were survivors, never spoke, and they had no survivor community.
yeah.
Very different
Yes.
than what you experienced.
We had a community, but my parents never talked to me about it.
Right.
My parents wanted to be Americans. They didn't do very well at it. Their English was very good. They were their language, and since I'm a writer, their language skills were really important to me. I wasn't allowed to correct them though, which drove me crazy. But they really, the only thing they ever said was how much better it was over there. There was there and there was here.
Right.
And they really wanted to be there because, they lost everything. They
Yes.
lost their money, their property, their language, their sense of security, in addition to their family and their profession.
Their whole way of life. Vienna
Their whole way of life.
was a beautiful
Right.
city. It was a beautiful,
Right.
I'm sure, a beautiful life that
Yes.
they had to leave behind.
Right.
So that,
Yes.
that
Yes.
must have been very difficult.
Yes. But they never talked about it, really, other than the here and the there. Maybe in high school, I started to learn a little history, and I left the community in high school because I went to Bronx Science. So I left. I didn't go to the local school, and then I met kids whose parents were not survivors.
Right.
People that my parents called American Jews. And even, for 50 years after, they would talk about how different the American Jews were. And even now, if I meet someone in a marriage with two Jews, which is vanishingly small these days, I'm always curious, European or American Jews?
Right.
Recently, I said that to someone, and she said, "Oh, he was Canadian." But I was like, "Okay, fine, it's
Right.
the same thing, not
Right.
European."
Right.
And so my world expanded immensely at that time. I met a lot of kids whose parents were communists and socialists. That was a large population at school. And by college, I went to City College. My parents wouldn't let me go out of town. CCNY, which we called TTNY. Okay, sort of all these kids I knew in high school.
Right.
But once I went out into the work world, everyone was Protestant. And a few Catholics, very different from today. But I lived in the city. Long Island is so much more Catholic. But I met all these WASPs who would say, "Oh, it's Yom Kippur. It's 3:00 today. All the Jews can go home." It's like, who says that?
Right.
But those are the companies that I worked for. I worked at the Daily News for many years, and it's just the way it was, And then I realized I was part of a small population. But growing up, I was just a normal
right.
kid
It was
without
very
grandparents.
different.
Lots of people had no grandparents. It was like, okay,
Right. Wow. So you majored in journalism when you went to school?
Yes, I majored in English and then got a master's degree in creative writing, and then my PhD 30 years later. But I was the poster child for "It's never too late."
Right.
I mean, literally, they really took a picture of me, and it was in Penn Station on an ad for Long Island University.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they really did say it's never too late. There I was, smiling. Okay, fine.
So your PhD is in
Holocaust history.
Holocaust history. So
Yes.
let's talk about that journey.
Okay.
How did you go from journalism to getting a PhD in Holocaust history?
Well, print journalism went down the drain in around 2008, 2009, and I said, I am finally grown up enough that I can study what I always wanted to study and was too afraid of. Of course, my parents didn't allow me to know anything about history or the Holocaust, but eventually you get over what your parents tell you you can or you can't do, or at least one hopes one gets over it. And so that brought me back to school. It's like, I want to do something new. I need a new credential. And it's time, and I'm able, and there I went.
Were your parents alive at this time?
No.
Okay.
Which made it much easier.
I was just going to say, did that impact your decision?
Yes.
Obviously.
Yes.
I'm sure, looking, you say they're very proud of me now.
No.
You don't think so?
No, it's really not what they wanted for me. My older sister got married very young, right after college, like the weekend after graduation. None of her friends came to the wedding because they were all getting married. But this was a long, long time ago. And so I was home for many years with my parents, and I think they really wanted me to stay there. Yeah. They weren't crazy about my having a career. My father thought, oh, women don't do that, things like that. So I think they basically wanted me to take care of them and not develop intellectually or in the business world or financially or really much of anything. And so that's what I did for a while. Then I said, I need to move on.
Right.
Time to move on.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I do.
Yes.
I like to say, I'm sure your parents are very proud of you right now.
I hope so. That's very sweet.
I think they are, whether they can admit it or not.
Yes.
That they are. They are definitely very proud of the work you do here and the person you are. I can't imagine that they're not. I understand that for many survivors, that was a life they wanted to forget.
Yes.
And they wanted to pack that away and not deal with it anymore. And there's a lot of different emotions and dealings, and
right.
no one can pass judgment. I'm a firm believer in, you know what, I didn't live that life. I don't have a right to say a word. I can only handle myself, and even then,
yes,
you're right. I got enough going
Sure.
on. So, how did you wound up coming to HMTC? When did that happen? Why did that happen? And let's talk about that journey.
Okay. Well, very simply, I read about the HMTC in the local newspaper that happened to be left open on a table in the library. And this is a while back, long time ago, and I said, this is an organization I have to get involved with. How can I do this? And so once I finished my PhD, what I wanted to do was start a Holocaust research center. And I talked to LIU, and I talked to Adelphi, and I talked to Hofstra, and I didn't get anywhere. And then I said, okay, I remember the Holocaust Center. I don't want to be a docent. I want to do something with more autonomy. I want to be able to do research and create something new, hopefully many things new, and help keep the memory of the Holocaust alive and make sure that the survivors and the people who were murdered, that I keep their memory alive. But I was very interested in the survivors. I used the Shoah archives for my dissertation. I watched like 230 videos of people who survived coming from Vienna, over 18, so they weren't kids being schlepped by their parents. They made their own decisions, who survived through escape. And that's what I studied. So I came to the center. I met with Beth Lilac,
who was the director at the time, the education director.
And she was delighted. She said, come, let's give you a nice fancy title and let's set you up in the library and see what work you want to do. And that was 12 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So let's talk about some of the work that you do,
okay.
because you do many things. We have our book club, okay, that you run once a month. Right. So how did that come to be?
Well, I love books and I love research. And I think the more people who know about the Holocaust, the better. And I also know that the Holocaust is a very difficult subject for many people to study. However, fiction is fun and enjoyable and engages you emotionally. So I thought if we study Holocaust-related fiction, there's fact to learn, there's important material to learn, but it's all encased in a story. And it has characters that we can all gossip about, and it's not hurtful to anybody because they're not real people, but it's great fun.
Right.
And I remember from my own research, from my master's and also my PhD, that when you study facts, you learn about what actually happens. And when you study fiction, you learn about what I consider truth. So emotional truth, which is very important to me.
Right.
So I look for books. I read many books before I choose one because most of them not going to serve our purpose.
There are some that aren't worth the book club attention.
Right.
Yes.
And then there's some that are just too dense and don't have that feeling of emotional engagement that will keep people reading.
Right.
And so I look for books that combine. I always ask at every meeting, did you learn something about the Holocaust? And if the answer is no, I feel bad because no, you're supposed to, but I don't want to say that.
Right.
But then I find a way to bring in some of the facts.
Right.
And there's always so much.
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful. So that's once a month.
Yes, that's once a month.
And our next book club is July 16th.
That's
Let's do a
right.
little plug. And the book is?
The book is The Things We Cannot Say.
Things We Cannot
Which
Say.
I think is just a wonderful title because everyone involved in the Holocaust had things they couldn't say. So the author is Kelly Rimmer, and she's...
So how do we sign up for that? It's on Zoom.
It's on Zoom, that's right. And that's very important. We originally had a grant for the book club, but we were going to have lunch and a physical meeting here, but COVID hit and we never did it. So now we're on Zoom forever.
Right.
So we can sign up on the website at upcoming events or through resources and then library and then book club.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And once you sign up, do you get reminders that other book club events are coming up? Or,
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So once you sign up, you're kind of in.
Right.
Yes.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
And we also have a weekly newsletter that comes out that, again, plugs many of the events here. So if people are interested, you just have to sign up for our newsletter, and then you get everything.
Right.
Book club being included and other things. Let's talk about some of your webinars that you've done. You've done some really fascinating
thank you.
webinars. So how do you decide to do them? And the work that goes into them. So I know that you did one on the Kindertransport.
Yes.
And you did one on fashion and during the...
Yes, forbidden fashion.
Right,
what was
forbidden
not
fashion.
allowed. Yes.
Right, and
yes.
you did one on Dali, because we
Yes.
have the Dali exhibit here now.
Right.
So
Yes. I did one on Marc Chagall earlier, and I looked at how his Judaism, which he didn't practice very much, but he was very emotionally Jewish, how it informed his painting. And then, again, how his painting informed his sense of Judaism. And, of course, what happened to him during the Holocaust.
Right.
And so that was interesting to do because I'm not an art critic, I know about as much as the average person, but I learned so much from doing that. And also with the Dali exhibit, because why did he do this? And what was he looking for? And how did this affect him and the work he did later? And how did his work inform his sense of religion? Because he was a Spanish Catholic.
Right.
But he had a Jewish side in that he had a Jewish sensibility.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, no, they were very well attended on Zoom.
Yes.
We had so many people sign up.
Yes.
And what's great about the Zoom is that they're recorded and you can watch it at another time. So
Right. They're all on YouTube.
Right. It's a a never-ending learning fest.
Yes. Yes.
Which is great. Do you have any that you're working on now for that are upcoming webinars?
I am looking at Picasso.
Okay.
Because obviously he's well known and his artwork is phenomenal and very controversial in a lot of ways also. There's some thought that his mother might have been a Marrano. And so would that make him Jewish? And did any aspects of Judaism affect him? And the answer is yes. And I'm looking to see how that came out in his painting and how it affected his internal growth.
Right.
Yes.
Sounds fabulous.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to it.
Good.
Let's talk a little bit about maybe your message to, well, first of all, it goes without saying that your work here at HMTC is wonderful and I'm sure extremely rewarding.
Yes.
Very
much so. Thank you. That's
coupling
a very
that,
nice compliment.
No. So coupling that with maybe messages to other 2Gs that are out there that aren't very involved in their family's history, preserving that history. They might not feel comfortable. They might not know how to start with gathering all of their history. What words or support would you say to them to kind of get them to think about it? Because we get that sometimes. We meet people, they'll come to an event here, they'll say they're a 2G, and then they'll say, but I just don't know if I have what it takes. And I kind of look at them and I say, of course you have what it takes. You can do whatever you want. So what would you say?
It's like the first line of the Dr. Spock, Baby and Child Care. You know more than you think you know. These 2Gs carry everything they need within them. They may not be in touch with it. They may not know how to tap it. But one of my early webinars was on epigenetics and the fact that the trauma that our parents suffered affects changes in our genes. It doesn't change our genetic structure. There are hormones and proteins that are around the gene that change, that literally change when prolonged and severe trauma is experienced. And the next generation and even the one after that and even the one after that can be changed because of that. And it enables different parts of a person to develop and different parts of a person to be suppressed. Because we do contain multitudes, truly. I have identical twins, so I see it all the time. Why are they different? They have the same upbringing, they have the same genetics, they have a different soul, and they have different epigenetic changes. And so I would say to any 2G who doesn't know that they might find it heartwarming and satisfying to be involved, that they are not alone. Because we all feel like we're alone. Pain is very isolating. I found that out when I did a program on the Catskills. People laughed. Laughter connected them. Some of the pain of the Holocaust survivors went away. Why'd they go to the Catskills? It was convenient. It was close, but they laughed. So for any 2G who comes in, there is a whole world to be explored of themselves and of the people around them.
Yeah, and I do have to give kudos to all our 2Gs here that are so involved, and we have a very active 2G group that does many things here at the center. Some just attend meetings as part of a network. So we do have a 2G organization. Gail Kastenholtz runs that. She does a fabulous job with many others. So, I want 2Gs to understand that not every 2G is a docent or not every 2G is giving their parents testimony or, doing, but there are many facets of being a 2G and there are many things that 2Gs can do. And so we want to encourage them to reach out and get involved.
Yes, so. It's good for the center and it's good for themselves. It's a wonderful opportunity that they have.
Yeah, I think so too. Or we wouldn't be here, right? Makes sense.
That's right.
What message maybe would you have for the people watching or listening at home about HMTC, about your work? What kind of little pearls of wisdom would you give them?
Well, it's a very good question. Pearls of wisdom, I never thought of having any, but let me think.
You have plenty of pearls of wisdom, Linda.
I think it's important for people to dig deep down inside themselves and become acquainted with who they are and understand their background. My parents like to tell me that I couldn't go to Vienna because it's not there anymore. Okay, it's there. All of our past is there. And I think it's very important to be connected with it. We are not sprung from the head of Zeus or from the clamshell or any of those stories. We are very much connected with our past. And the more we know about it, the calmer we can feel about life and the sense of understanding ourselves. Yeah.
That's great. And and look, I feel so connected by being here at HMTC.
Oh, yeah.
I have a whole family here.
Yes.
Besides my own family, I have the HMTC family, and I feel that way when I come to work every day. I have just wonderful people around me. So how could you not be happy?
It's true. It's a tremendous antidote to the rest of the world.
You know, I mean, people
Yes.
will say to me all the time, "Oh, you work at it must be so depressing at Holocaust." And I'm like, "No, I walk in the door and I'm happy.
Yes.
I smile. I have a great group of people
Right.
that I work with that I get to see every day. I'm not depressed,
Right.
you know." And they don't quite get that because
Yes.
I think you have to be here and you have to be in the moment and you have to feel it to really express
Right,
that.
right.
But you get it. You understand.
Yes.
And I want our podcasting community to understand that connection and to be a part of it as well.
It's very difficult to articulate.
It is.
Yes.
It really is.
Yes.
But I want to thank you so much for being on our show.
Oh, thank
and,
you. My pleasure.
It was fabulous, wonderful. And to all of our viewers, please like, subscribe, share. And until next time, I will see you, Donna Rosenblum and Dr. Linda Burghardt.